What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ashford J, the creator of Howton U, and right now I just want to take a second to sit and talk with an HBCU alumni that's really out there doing it. Now, today I got a special guest with me. I got the author, the actor, the TV host, the fashion designer, the one and only Mr. Steal the Spotlight himself, Mr. Derek Watkins, also known as Mr. Fonzworth Bently. Say what's up to the people, man.
What's happening?
What's good?
Y'all snap with putting the two of those together like that.
Yeah.
Y'all snap.
Thank you for just sitting down with me for a second, man.
Happy to be here, bro.
Definitely. First and foremost, just tell the people where you're from and what HBCU you attended.
I'm born and raised in Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, and went to school not far from there at Morehouse College.
Now, put yourself back in like an 18-year-old senior high school. I mean, you had tell us the different schools you had options to go to, but what did you see was an advantage of going to a HBCU?
Well, I didn't look at anything other than an HBCU. It boiled down to Hampton and Morehouse, and it was, really about the athletics. As far as I knew, both schools were, top tier as far as an education is concerned. So that's what it boiled down to me. I was like, which track coach is going to push me? Which one is going? Am I vibing with the most? And it ended up being Coach Hill. Big shout out to him at Morehouse College.
The many things that you do today, how do you feel like going to the HBCU help harness that or help support that as far as like your network, man? Because I know when you go to HBCU, you go out in the world and you see familiar faces all the time. Does that still assist you to this day?
I'm gonna give you a prime example. I remember I was I was Sean Combs' assistant. And we were in Philadelphia, and it was just, a random like promo run for his album that he was promoting, Bad Boy and P. Diddy and the Bad Boy Family. And we're pulling up to the hotel, and I see this bus, and we called him Street, but his name was Sharif Street, and Sharif Street was running for office in Philadelphia. And it just bugged me out. I'm like, hold up. I had to reach out and, just found a way there just to put what resources and connect any dots that I possibly could. I didn't know a lot of folks in Philly at the time, but the camp did, right? So I did just that quick thing. It just showed, it's like you pull up and the guy who's got, one of the biggest campaigns in the town, and it looked good as a new assistant, because the new assistant, the assistant is really like the consigliere to the operation, right? So if you saw The Godfather, then you know what the consigliere is. But to pull up and then to see the bus pull up and there's somebody running for office, that's the same as, it's almost like hip hop, right?
Yeah.
They, they have their buses, and instead of walking out and having mixtapes, they got flyers and pamphlets, and they pull out a podium and speak from it. So it's very much like the soul hip hop vibe, but it just said something different about me to the organization in the camp I was with when they saw, like, I was like, oh, dude, I ran track when we ran 800.
Y'all go back.
You know what I'm saying? So it was that. I think that was one of the first moments that I remember, especially being in entertainment, that I was like realized, like, wow, I really don't know how deep and how deeply rooted this network is. I actually still had the same email address from college. And I would encourage everybody that, under the sound of my voice, find one email address, especially when you're in school, that you just do not change, and you keep it and hold on to it, passwords and all of the above. Because every now and then folks will just send an email there and just think, let's see if Derek checks this. And I stay in touch with a lot of people just like that.
That's what's up, man. So you had that connection, like, oh, you remember Keisha? Keisha Black? That's how I roll.
Big booty Keisha.
Keisha always got one. But anyway, what would you say to just the story of the HBCU? Because Howton U is just telling the story, a coming of age story of a guy at the HBCU. You feel like that's a story that needs to be told? How do you feel about that?
When we had A Different World, I think that was one of the closest things, other than Spike's film, that we ever really got to giving us the essence of what that is. There's so many people now who still don't, like I was at, it's called the BEA Conference, which is the Black Engineer of the Year Award. So they had the top African Americans at, at NASA to the top military firms, and it's a huge event. And there's a gentleman who owns a defense company. And I was, having a conversation with him, and the young lady he came to support got an award. And she was like, When I told him that we need to be going to these HBCUs to find talent who don't necessarily always know the right way to put together a resume for this defense company or for a NASA or whatever. And he thought HBCU was a bank. He thought it was a bank. And so, you know, and this is just the ignorance of not knowing, you know, what's all out there. You know what I mean? The HBCU was created to make the best, the brightest before they went out, to plant themselves, you know, in different communities in the universe. And then obviously the most important thing is to go back and give back. And so, you know, I think one of the things that I really want to see more of as far as HBCUs is we have to give back to our universities.
Right.
It's not about, when I want to give 2,000 or I want to give 20,000. What happens is if you just give consistently, even if you gave $12, $1 per month, if you gave $12, if everybody that graduated from HBCU, because what happens is the president of universities, and they go to the big Fortune 500 companies, and they say, we need you to donate to the school. And they say, okay, well, let's see how the people that you have produced donate to your school.
Definitely.
And what happens is they look at the percentage rate on how much we've given to the school, and that determines how much the Fortune 500s will give. So they're like, all right, well, only 30% of your school gives back. So we ain't gonna give more than your own that you've produced give back. And why should they? And so I think, you know, there's a huge disconnect, and this gets back to that talented 10th, you know, but we really, that's a real focus we need to get down. So it's like, look, if we can at least be consistent. And, you know, we've all been guilty. I've definitely been guilty. But, if we can at least be consistent in giving back to our universities, it will literally change the endowment, new buildings, resources, and all of the above for folks' experience.
You got anything to say to a freshman that's thinking about going to HBCU? Would you have any words of wisdom for them? Because it's always tempting to say, hey man, let me go to this white school because it's more of the real world. That's what a lot of people say. But still, I always feel like it's an experience that you can't get unless, you know, till you're 18, that freshman year and everything. Man,
I do. You're saying that exactly. They say this is what the real world is about. Well, let me just speak some truth to that. It says, "Be not conformed unto this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind."
Come on now.
That you may prove what is the good, and acceptable, and perfect will of God. So, all right, first of all, I ain't about this world. The world ain't got nothing to do with me, all right? You know, the earth is His and the fullness thereof, and greater is He that is in me than is in the world.
Great.
So, you know, this is, you know, I have a different perspective on that whole thing. What I would say, you know, there are certain folks who are like, you know, they may have excelled at cricket, or they may have excelled at, there's certain sports that a lot of the HBCUs don't necessarily have, or they may not have the same competitive level on that tip. Now, I get some of that. However, we've had a lot of HBCU folk. There were three that were Morehouse grads on the field at the Super Bowl, period. Okay? And people always try to talk about our football team. All right, but anyway, my point is this. It doesn't matter really what school you go to. It matters what you're going to put into it and what you plan on getting out of it. And so you have to think of yourself as an individual and say, okay, as the CEO of my purpose, as the CEO of my life, what do I want to add to who I am? Because when people talk about networking and branding and all of these terms that you hear about, the networking doesn't start when you go to the affair or the black tie event or the club. The networking starts in school. That's where the network starts, because these are the future doctors, lawyers, producers, actors, network owners. These are the future folks, executives. There's so many executives, like I'll meet an executive, and because they go to an HBCU, I know I have a deeper relationship with them right off the bat. Quick story. I was at the White House. I was doing a quick last minute tour. I got a last minute tour of the West Wing. And so I'm going through, and I wanted to sit in the theater because, I remember seeing the picture of President Obama sitting in the theater watching the game. So I wanted to sit in this thing, and so I'm sitting in this thing, his chair. And as I'm leaving, they were like, by the way, Michelle Obama's and they're called body men and body women there. They're not called assistants, right? It's like she wants to meet you. Do you have time? I'm like, do I got time to wait for Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama? Do I? And so anyway, so I wait, I don't know, about 25 minutes, and she comes down and introduces herself, how are you doing? My name is Kristen, and, da-da-da. She's like, I went to spell. I'm like, and at first I'm like this. I'm like, oh, how you doing? Because I'm like, I can only imagine the things you're seeing. I'm talking like this. And then she's like, I went to spell. I'm like, whoa, you went to spell? Girl, what's up with Lower Manly? And, it's just it's a deeper relationship, and it just became different than her .gov email address. It became a cell phone, and that's just what it is. It's an instant understanding and common courtesy and understanding of, I know the experience you had, I know the experience you've been through, and it just makes things different, and the thing is, I think for me, it's definitely made me a much more well-rounded individual now in the professional world. Going to an HBCU.
I look at music as like a bookmark in time, man.
No doubt.
And
no
definitely,
doubt about it.
What was that song, or who was that artist out? Now you got Drake, you got Gucci Mane, all these other cats, 2 Chainz. What was that artist out that you like, where did he go? But when he came on the radio, it was a rap. When he came on in the party, he shut it down.
Talking about at
freshman year.
You gotta be specific.
Freshman
Come on,
year.
you just can't throw that out. Specific to freshman year. All right, so here's the all right. Freshman year, I stayed at Graves Hall. Room 411. The same year Mary J. Blige What's the 411 came out.
Come on.
All right, so how hot did I think I was? So, you gotta say, my freshman year, it's Biggie's first album, you got Snoop's first album, you got Wu-Tang's first album, it's too much. It's like, I don't care what years you was in school, 92, 96, we killing you.
Those are rap.
Those is like golden. I'm talking about R&B. It's the Shy album. It's an SWV's first album my freshman year. It was ridiculous. It's literally ridiculous. Actually, when Slam would come on, that was freshman year. So you gotta imagine Slam, da 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 da. Like this is, see the thing is, the problem is now if that came out, folks would get to fight.
Yeah, there's no problem. At least a chair thrown.
Yeah, then it was an organized mosh pit, if you will. Folks ran into each other and they was throwing in. Some may have a busted lip. But that's about it. Onyx, man. Onyx, that was a, for me and my crew at least, that joint, that got us turned. We turned up.
I know you in college now, you don't know who that is. I was very young when that came out. Go Google that, but that's real
Slam.
Grimy hip hop, and it was the realest back then.
I think Mobb Deep, the infamous man, come out my freshman year too. Yes. Yeah, when Shook Ones came on, I'm finna slap the camera.
This was back when rappers didn't sing. For real, when rappers just rapped, you know what I'm saying? You were scared of these rappers, man.
Yeah.
But definitely, man,
You just took me back. You just took me back.
Memory lane, man. That's what the show's supposed to do. Howton U, supposed to take the alumni back to where they once were, supposed to take the current students to have a reflection of where they're at right now, man. I want to thank Mr. Fonzworth Bently for coming through.
Thank you,
Derek
brother.
Watkins. If you want to say anything else of what you got going on, man, just let the people know.
Yo, just, you know what? Stay tuned. Follow me on I'm at fonzbentley.com is the website. You can stay in touch with me on Twitter at Fonz Bentley, Fonz, then Bentley. You ain't know, you better ask somebody. All right, that's on Twitter and Instagram, and you need to check out this new social network. It's called Feed, P-H-E-E-D. Just remember where you heard it first. All right, so when it is the new Instagram, then you'll be like, oh.
Gotcha.
But it's unlimited video, unlimited, record audio. It's a really cool application. You can check me out there. Yo, check out my man Ashford J. Thomas's Howton U.
You heard it from the man himself. Thank you so much for coming out. I don't have an ascot on, but he let me do the interview anyway. Greatly appreciate it, man. Yo, this real talk. Thank you, bro. Make sure you check out the hilarious show by just visiting the website, HowtonU.com. And for the latest episodes and interviews, click that subscribe button. Go ahead, do it. Be sure to follow me online, and you better book me for a show. Get your Howton U apparel and other high graphic tees at CurtisAaronCollection.com.